"Sir, this event is by invitation only." The young officer's voice was clipped, more concerned with keeping the line moving than showing respect. Thomas Reed, dressed in his best blazer and polished shoes, held out a folded envelope. "I received this in the mail. My daughter's being honored today." His hand trembled slightly, not from age but from something deeper, the quiet fear of not belonging. The officer barely glanced at the letter. "Without a badge or name tag, I can't let you in." He waved the next guest forward without another word. Thomas stepped aside, heart sinking. The crowd flowed around him, high-ranking officers, family members in designer dresses, reporters with press passes swinging from their necks. He'd faced enemy fire, but this, the cold dismissiveness of his own country, cut deeper. No one noticed the slight limp in his step, the precision of how he stood, how his eyes instinctively scanned for exits like a soldier still on patrol. He didn't argue. He never did. That wasn't his way. He folded the letter carefully, put it in his coat pocket, and found a nearby bench under a flagpole. He thought about leaving. Maybe he should. But he'd come all this way. 25 years ago, Thomas was a staff sergeant leading Bravo Company in Basra. He never talked much about the war, never liked parades or applause. He was the guy who carried others on his back, literally through smoke and sand. A bomb had torn into his Humvee. His medic was bleeding out. Thomas used his body as a shield, pulling the man through gunfire to safety. He was awarded a Bronze Star. It collected dust in a shoebox. He never wore his achievements. He carried them. Back then, he believed his country would always remember. But age made him invisible. Today confirmed it. As he sat alone, trying to hide the sting in his chest, a voice rang out from the ceremony entrance. "Is there a reason this veteran isn't being let in?" Heads turned. There she was, marching toward the gate in full army dress blues, clean lines, rows of commendations on her chest, black boots gleaming. Her cap tucked under her arm, her eyes locked on the officer like a guided missile. Captain Elaine Reed, his daughter. The officer stiffened, fumbling. "Ma'am, I didn't realize—" "That's the problem. You didn't ask." Her voice was cool but sharp as a blade. "This man is Staff Sergeant Thomas Reed, Bronze Star, combat medic savior. He's not just invited, he's the reason I joined." Gasps floated through the crowd. Someone whispered, "Is that her dad?" Another murmured, "Wait, that Thomas Reed." Elaine turned to her father and smiled, softening. "Dad, you came." He tried to stand, but she was already at his side, offering her arm. "You didn't have to make a scene," he said, voice gruff, eyes glassy. "You didn't have to sit alone," she replied gently. "You belong up front. With me." Then, in a move that silenced the entire lawn, she snapped to attention and saluted him. It was not for the crowd. It was for him. Thomas blinked. Slowly, around them, a wave began. One by one, soldiers and officers stood straighter. Hands rose to brows. Even the gate guard saluted. The crowd no longer saw a man with thinning hair and a wrinkled jacket. They saw a veteran, a protector, a father who gave more than medals could measure. Elaine guided him past the gate, through rows of stunned onlookers, all now stepping aside with reverence. She led him to the front row, where generals had been seated. "Reserved," the sign read, "for family." She removed it and placed it in her lap. The ceremony began, but all eyes stayed on him. Elaine took the podium. Her speech was brief, powerful. She spoke of legacy, not just blood, but sacrifice. "Some inherit wealth," she said. "I inherited courage. The kind that limps without complaint, that shows up even when forgotten." She pointed to her father. "He's the reason I stand here." Not because he demanded recognition, but because he never asked for it. By the time she finished, the audience was on their feet. Some clapped, others wiped tears. Thomas stood slowly, overwhelmed. He'd come expecting to sit in the back. Instead, he stood at the center, not because of rank, but because of respect. After the ceremony, people lined up to shake his hand. A boy asked for a photo. A colonel offered an apology. The officer at the gate returned, head low. "I'm sorry, sir. I didn't recognize—" Thomas interrupted him gently. "Next time, look with your eyes, not your clipboard." Later that night, Elaine and Thomas sat on a bench beneath the same flagpole. She leaned her head on his shoulder. "You okay, Dad?" He nodded. "I am now." Because today he was seen, not as an old man, but as the reason someone brave stood tall in uniform. His daughter didn't just wear the army's honor, she carried his. Because true heroes don't ask to be saluted. But when someone finally does, it means everything. Before we wrap up the story, let us know in the comments, where are you watching from? We'd love to hear. If this reminded you what real strength looks like, honor it with a like and a comment.